All right, we are live streaming and recording. Chair can take it away from here. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. We'll call the Italian Village Commission meeting for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 to order, 4 p.m. virtually via WebEx. Our next commission monthly business meeting will be at noon on Tuesday, September 30th, 2020, also virtual via WebEx. And the next commission hearing will be Tuesday, October 14th, 2020 at 4 p.m. Also virtual hearing to be held via WebEx. Staff
Excuse
today,
me, Chairman, did you say October the 14th? That's a Wednesday. Did you mean the 13th, which is Tuesday?
I don't know. I was reading off the agenda, but I will check that. That's an excellent question. Yes, the 13th. It's actually supposed to be October 13th. Good catch. Thank you.
Okay.
Tuesday, October 13th. Staff today, Kimberly, will anybody else be speaking?
No, it'll just be me.
Okay, sounds good. Will you state your name for the record?
Kimberly Bernard?
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
I do.
Okay, great. And now let's introduce the commissioners. If you'll each state your full name, we'll start with Shannon.
Shannon Fergus.
Todd.
Todd Boyer.
David.
David Cook.
Ben.
Ben Goodman.
And this is Jason Sudi. Did I miss anybody? I didn't see anybody else on the list.
No, Lauren is unable to make it, and Brooke should be here at about 5.
Okay. All right, so let's move forward to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for the minutes of August 12th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Great. I'll read the roll. David?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Todd?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
And Jason is yes. Motion carries. Staff, do we have any public fora today? What are forums? Fora? I don't know. What is the
I
Latin?
have no idea what the
there?
proper plural of it is, but we do not have any today.
Either way, we don't have any. Great. Sounds good. Staff approvals. Can I have a motion for staff approvals?
So moved.
So
Ben.
moved.
And then a second.
Second.
Great. Let me call the
Second,
roll.
Shannon.
Sounds good. We'll call the roll, then we'll go through it for abstentions. All in favor, Ben?
Aye.
Shannon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
And Jason is a yes. I'll go through for abstention. Starts on page 5 of the agenda. 91 East 5th Avenue. 144 Warren Street. 955 Mount Pleasant. 96 East Lincoln. 947 Mount Pleasant. 290 Cornelius. Fort Hamlet. 738 Kerr. 777 North 4th. Same from that one. 754 North Pearl. Okay, any abstentions? I didn't hear any others but mine on that one. Any other ones that I missed?
Not for me. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Staff, you're all set with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So moving on, do we have any staff recommendations today?
We do have a couple. There was one that I did sneak in before.
Oh, I got you.
The staff recommended. That's a new application.
Okay, so you just want to start with there?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Well, 853 Summit, I'll let you begin and then we'll get into it with the applicant.
Alrighty, the proposed work on this is for a split lot into 2 parcels for the proposed 2-family carriage house to be constructed in the rear for the permitted site plans. Commissioners at the business meeting request staff pull the Sanborn maps for the hearing, which I did. We're actually starting off with those. Historically, having 2 lots on the structure did come up as a question. The applicant confirmed also that Hull Alley would be connected all the way through because that was another item that had come up. The applicant clarified that the lot was split for sewer extension and that the design would be returning to the commission for review within the next few months. The project can't move forward without the lot split and sewer. The commission had expressed support of the carriage house at the 2018 conceptual review. And I've also included at the very end the most recent set of site plans that the commission had reviewed. I was able to get in to the office to pull them. So they're all the way at the very end, which I'm sure Patrick will scroll through. And our applicant, David Armini, is here.
Okay, great. Dave, can you say something to get yourself on the screen?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely. Will you state your whole name for the record, please?
Sure, David Armini.
Great, great. Will you raise your right hand and promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
I do.
Okay, great. So tell us what you have to say about this application.
This has been a lengthy process, and the point we're at now is trying to get the site compliance plan approved and to go through zoning. And one of the recommendations that we need for zoning and to get the site compliance through for the sewer is an Italian Village COA on the lot split and such. Now, this is not a COA for the architectural review. That is going to be done later. But what I want to do now is I want to get the zoning and the lot split in progress so that you could get approval for that before we continue on the architectural drawings. Because if we don't get the zoning and the sewer, there's no point in doing architectural drawings.
Okay, do you have anything else before we go through the commissioners for questions?
If you have any questions, just let me know. It's been such a lengthy process. There's so much in my head on this. But the main thing right now that I see you have it on the screen there is the site compliance plan from Sands Decker. You have to get approval on that before we move on to the next step. And that, of course, requires an Italian Village COA.
Sounds good. Okay, we'll go through all the commissioners, and then when we're done, I'll give it back to you to answer any questions that come up during that process.
Sure,
So
thanks.
let's start. Shannon, would you like to begin?
With the lot split. Yeah.
Okay, do you have anything else? No, nothing in particular, no questions? Okay, hearing none. Todd, your thoughts?
No questions in support of the application.
Okay, David?
I'm having problems with the massing. When we talk about with the appropriateness of putting a building as big as this two-family is in what was the yard of a single, I am going to ask Kimberly to please clarify, was there any other structure from the Sanborn maps that you could determine?
There's a number of smaller structures. If Patrick, you'll go to the first couple pages, there were various small one-story structures. It's kind of a weird area, and there were previously some garages on the lot next door, but not anything auto-related on this one.
So you're saying the small structures were at one time residences, probably?
No.
The small outbuildings.
It would have probably been a small outbuilding, maybe a shed or something, but that would be the first couple.
Okay, and so my concern is that this little structure is just overwhelmed by what's being proposed. And then if you go over to I think we call it a court, but it's parallel units that are very low in structure. This just seems, again, trying to fill up every square inch. So I do have an issue with the idea. I would be less concerned with the lot split if I understood that this proposed structure was no bigger than the original house. But it seems totally backwards from what we've been doing, concerns you all raised last, or that will come up in this meeting about the Hamlet project, about the new structure being so much bigger than the original structure. And clearly that's where this project is headed. So I do have a lot of concerns about this for fitting in the neighborhood.
So point of clarification, we're only approving a lot split right now, right? All the architecture and massing.
I
Lot
understand
coverage
that.
is coming back.
I thank you for the clarification, and I did understand that if I hadn't made that clear. But what it looks like it's headed to is something that is very big building behind a very little house that fits the character of Summit for that block. There are a lot of other small little structures, not a great big building looming over that, or a big building over the top of it. So for that reason, I'm very cautious about it. If there was some way the applicant said the structure will not be taller than 2 stories, and it definitely won't overmass the original building, okay, but otherwise I'm hesitant at this stage, and I've got to express that.
Okay, Ben, I think we have yet to hear from you.
Well, technically, I need to recuse myself from this for proximity to my own home.
Okay, sounds good. I'll support the lot split. I definitely understand David's concerns. I do see this as an opportunity to kind of regain that alley that's been a little funky back there. I know it sort of exists now. It's kind of a mess. And accessing this from the rear, while I do understand it does create a little more mass in that area, does start to sequence that area a little bit more completely with regard to the adjacent structures as well, and that kind of half version of a driveway alley that's back there right now. So based on that, I can support it. David, do you have any other comments before we move into a motion on this?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, can I hear a motion from someone?
Move to approve application 20-09-017.
I will second.
Okay, great. We'll call the roll. All in favor of this motion. Shannon?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
David?
Regrettably, no.
Ben?
Recuse.
And Jason is yes, so the motion carries. Okay, thanks.
Can I address one of David's comments for a second?
Briefly, since we've already voted.
I know it's already passed. When we originally brought the architectural review to the committee, the front house also has a addition to it, which actually would block out most of the rear house. And I think we brought that same issue up before because of the brick structures directly next door that were just recently constructed. So anyhow, that's fine. You passed it, but that's some architectural issue that we could work out at some time in the future. And I'm very open to everybody's recommendations.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being on today. We appreciate it.
That's all. Thank you.
Staff, we're going to move on to the next one. This one, I have to recuse myself from due to proximity. So I will.
Also,
Oh yeah, and David too. So I will turn it over to you.
All right, I'm just noting who's recusing. So number 2 is 175 East First Avenue. This is an application for landscaping the yard, including removing plants, adding some bushes, hosta, and proposed landscape boulders per the submitted drawing. I'm going to add a quick clarification. There is a revised drawing in here. We'll get to that. There's 3 landscape lights to be added, and there's 2 different models that are noted. Low voltage uplights at the tree and the mulch bed on the west side of the house, and then a 50-watt uplight at the tree in the northwest corner, and 2 small low voltage pathway lights in the mulch bed besides the front porch. I did notice in reviewing it today that these haven't been pointed out. I didn't have time to get back to the applicant. I was unfortunately off all last week, so I was kind of scrolling today to get everything together. Commissioners at the business meeting noted that the boulder should be placed in the rear of the yard, not the front of the yard. The site plan needed to be revised to include all lighting structures. An accurate and revised site plan has been requested. The arborvitae around the AV was already dead and did need to be replaced. Shortly before the business meeting, the applicant did request to have juniper around the AC unit as opposed to the arborvitae, and then plant boxwood instead of bayberries. Staff recommends the approval of the application with the condition that the decorative boulder be relocated to the backyard and an accurate site plan is submitted with any proposed revisions. And I am not sure that I saw Dan West on here, although if he wants to speak up and let me know if I missed him. Because if he's not here, my recommendation would be to skip this and then come back to it in case he is having technical difficulties and can't make it on right now.
Kimberly, it might be also one other thing for the other commissioners to hear that all of these lighting things have already been installed.
Yes, and apparently there are 2 boulders at the moment, or 2 landscape rocks in there as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Does look like on the revised drawing it says remove boulder.
Yes.
There's another one over up against the house.
Okay.
Should we move on to the next application for now?
Yes, and then if Mr. West doesn't show up towards the end, we can discuss how to handle this one, but we'll keep moving.
Okay, in that case, we'll go to number 3, or no, yes, number 3.
Yes.
So staff, if you want to take it away on that one, 680 Civitas, and then we'll get the applicant involved.
Alrighty, this is for a variance recommendation. So this includes parking lot trees, landscape and screening, an unapproved parking lot, landscape screening, striping and marking, some surface condition, a minimum number of parking spaces, and lighting. There is a note on a lot of these that this is for a maximum of 3 years. Commissioners at the business meeting expressed concern over the 3-year length of time for the proposed variances, and eliminating the tree from the parking lot was not completely supported. The applicant did clarify that this was due to the sewer sanitary easement. A compromise of relocating the trees, the eliminated trees, and or using more permanent pavers in the parking space was proposed during the business meeting. Staff does recommend approval with any clarifications noted.
Okay, who do we have here representing the applicant today? Dave Perry?
Sean Cullen, I'm here.
Sean? Okay, great.
We're both here, Jason.
Oh, hey, Dave. We'll start in.
Sean, will you state your name for the record?
Yeah, Sean Cullen.
Dave, would you state your name for the record?
Yeah, Dave Perry on behalf of Jeffrey Newday.
I think I might be getting a loop feedback somewhere there, so let's see how we address that. Could each of you raise your right hands and promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
I do.
Okay, great. Staff, did you have anything else on this before we have them fill us in?
No, I read everything I had, so you can continue with the applicant's commentary.
Okay, great. Over to you, Sean and Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having us. As we mentioned during the business meeting, no issues with the staff recommendations and the comments that were brought up. We are able to commit to planting additional trees then in the area outside of the regional storm area that's in the southern portion of the parking lot. And then the long-term goal then within less than 3 years is to then construct the parking garage to the west on the left side of that aerial photo that you have there. And there will be an easement in place so the pro rata share of parking spaces can be permanently constructed in that facility.
Great. The one thing I did want to mention is that, we have had people come in for small site lots, surface lots, temporary lots. And I just wanted to make what I see as a distinction here in the fact that two things. One, this is part of a large scale development plan. And then secondly, there's a specific plan to eliminate this parking and replace it with a different approach that fits more in keeping with the urban design character that we are proponents of in the village. I just don't want to have any muddied waters that this means that I at least would be in favor of people finding random lots and proposing surface lots around the area for temporary use that would not be part of a bigger strategy. So with that, I'll go through the commissioners and see who has comments. David, would you like to speak?
Hey, Jason, may I add something first? Jason? Yeah, okay.
Go
Number 5 on the variance list on the agenda should be deleted. We will not be seeking the variance numbered as number 5.
What is it?
Number 5 is the variance to minimum numbers of parking spaces required. This is the Short North Parking District, and Short North Parking District allows off-site parking, which is initially occurring in the temporary lot, and then within the 3-year period will be occurring within the 600 plus space parking garage that Sean is planning. So there does not need to be the variance for number 5.
Okay.
Sounds good. Staff, you got that one noted?
Yes, I put a big X through it on my paper, so we'll be good.
Excellent. Okay, so back to David. Would you like to start the comments?
I heard one of the two speakers say that they were willing to adjust the number of trees or plant elsewhere, which is positive. I didn't hear anything talked about the pavers or a commitment to that.
Okay, let's get through everybody and then we'll get back to the applicant on that one. Any other comments, David?
None.
Okay, Todd?
Just a clarification. This lot is to support the building just to the east going up, correct?
I believe that's right.
Okay. So I just want to make sure for the record that then all of the ADA parking spaces that are required are going to be permanently built with the building. There's none associated with this gravel lot.
That is correct. All the permanent ADA spaces will be adjacent to the main location.
Okay. Then I don't have any further questions, Jason.
Okay, Shannon?
I'm fine with it as long as we do go ahead and add in as many of those trees as we can. Those are my comments.
I guess I'm a little vexed by what a temporary lot and just I know that gravel is not ideal for the applicant or perhaps even long term for us, but which is worse if this thing ends up staying there for 5 years, because of any variety of reasons that stalls the project. I'm in favor of the applicant's idea to distribute trees somewhere else on the site. Would still like to see some sort of nominal improvement to that lot in the way of pavers if possible. I'm a little surprised that trees can't be put back there someplace. The loss of a few trees. I can't imagine that sewer easement is that wide, but we'll concede if we're putting trees elsewhere.
Okay, I don't have any further comments. So over to the applicant to specifically address the issues, specifically address David's issue regarding the inclusion of some permeable pavers and then anything else that you heard that came up.
Yeah, this is Sean Cullen. Actually, on the diagram that's in front of you there, where the southeast corner of the building, we are proposing some decorative material, paving material in that landing area. That will be the main entrance to the building. So we want to dress that up and make that appear and have that wow factor. So we are looking at adding a paving material in there that will differentiate itself from the standard asphalt that you would see. And then also just to address the trees, the area that's shown right there where Patrick's pointing to, it's really just that row that's against the building, and then against 670, those portions of the spaces that are there, that is where the regional storm is located on the site. So we're not asking for relief on trees further north of that area where you see the parking turn directly north. It's just in the it's just in that area down where we were just discussing the paver drop or pavement type in that drop off area.
Gotcha. David, other thoughts, questions?
No, perhaps the motion ought to be framed though. What would the original number of trees be, and could we put the motion rather than just leaving it open ended? They're going to put trees anywhere. Could we maybe define it by a number then?
Sure. And if we don't have the number today, staff, would you be comfortable making it a 1-for-1 substitution?
Yes.
That's okay.
31.
That's fine.
31, Jason, 1 per 10 spaces.
We do have a number. There we go. Okay. If there are no further comments, someone care to make a motion?
Move to approve this application with the understanding that it will be a match of the number of trees for the requirement, but can be at the discretion of the developer to put them where they want. They don't have to be where they were originally. And that, well, they're already explaining the decorative paver, and that seems to fulfill part of the idea of not just having all asphalt.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second, with the question though, with a little discussion here, that I'm understanding that the temporary lot being proposed is an asphalt lot.
I believe it's gravel.
It's gravel. Is it
It's-
gravel?
That's what,
Yeah, for clarification, the lot is gravel. It is required that 50 feet of that entrance of the parking lot that's temporary is to be a hard asphalt material. So no gravel can be carried out onto Civitas Avenue for any traffic heading north out of the project.
That's perfect.
Okay, great. I'll call the roll. I'll call the roll in favor of this project. David?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Todd?
yes.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
And staff, it looks like we've got the next one moved to staff approval, correct?
Yes, number 4 was moved to staff approval.
Great, so we'll move on to number 5, 281, 289 East Detroit.
All right, this application includes changes to the previously approved site plan and elevation, which includes the reduction of the depth of the 289 Detroit building, a relocation of the 281 Detroit building closer to the street to allow for parking on the parcel, minor revisions to the fenestration on the building, and to split the lot into 2 parcels per the submitted site plan. Additionally, a sewer access easement would be granted for the 289 property to the 281 property to allow for the 281 to be connected through the 289 property, as well as provide access to the 281 garage. This easement is shown on the site plans. There's also a variance recommendation, which we did see and recommend the variances previously. There are a number of updates which are shown in red, so I won't go through and rehash that. Commissioners at the business meeting requested that the change in fenestration be clarified and agreed to move it to staff approval if all the commissioners were okay with the change, which not everyone was, and I did also not receive replies from everybody, which is why it's here. So staff does recommend approval, and I know there was some clarification needed on what the previous design was and what the new design was. So for a quick reference and probably a little bit less of a headache on Patrick, pages 2 to 6 are the new design, and then pages 7 to 12 are the old design. So that was what was previously reviewed and approved. Page 11 has the previous elevation, so we're essentially going on the Detroit north elevation from, I think, 4 windows to 3.
Great, thanks. Carrick, are you out there? Carrick Sherrill, are you out there?
Yes, I'm out here.
Okay, great. Hey, real quickly, Carrick, before we swear you in, is this application and/or your other application, are these lichens properties or not?
No, they are not at all associated with that.
Okay, I could not
With lichens.
recall, so I will not have to abstain, which I think I did in the business meeting because I wasn't sure. So I will just keep on rolling. So with that being said, Carrick, will you state your name for the record?
Carrick Sherrill.
And will you raise your right hand and promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability in your testimony this afternoon?
I do.
All right, so over to you.
I apologize for having to bring this back to you folks. The primary difference on the Detroit Avenue elevation is just the 3 windows to the 4 windows. I'm sorry, the 4 windows to 3 windows on the right side of the left building. There are a few other minor changes to the other elevations, but they're fairly insignificant. Obviously, the massing of the 281 building changed a little bit because we added the garage on the back side. But other than that, the buildings are generally the same.
Let's go through the commissioners, see what questions anyone has. Ben, you want to start this one?
I don't have any problem with the variances of the lot split. I am a little bothered that we're reducing the number of windows, especially because these elevations are fairly chunky. And so I'm not happy to see going from 4 windows to 3 on the what I believe is the east elevation. And wondering if we can get the applicant to reconsider the north elevation where the windows get even smaller compared to the elevation, and perhaps should show at least a little bit of better dialogue among themselves. In other words, on the north elevation, that perhaps the upper double set should be a triple, just to provide a little more design symmetry for an otherwise fairly asymmetric kind of building, and especially because of the window is small. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Todd?
I would second Ben's comments about the variance, and then also second the symmetry between the lower windows and the upper windows. But I'm a little less concerned about the lack or the loss from 4 to 3 on the north elevation of the 289 building. But otherwise, I agree with Ben.
Shannon?
I agree on the variances and also agree that the windows should go from, go down to 2. Could it go to 3 on the top instead to gain? Would be another option.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
If you're talking about, again, the north elevation is the one to the right. And that was that set of 2 on the left-hand side of that sort of upper left is what I was referring to. Maybe want to go to 3. So Again,
Oh, yes, then yes, I agree with you on that. I heard you incorrectly.
I see what you're saying.
because the other elevation is the east elevation, if I'm understanding correctly.
I think they're labeled right.
We don't take any issue with that. You're talking about the left side of the 281 building to get just 2 stacks of 3 windows. And then the column of narrow windows on the right-hand side, that's okay, correct?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's had any issues with that, correct?
That's fine. Yeah.
Correct.
So sounds good. David, do you have thoughts?
I'm not going to continue with the window dialogue. What I am concerned about is it seems like every project this applicant is putting hot tubs up on the 3rd floor. And I know to be consistent and not play favorites, we have not encouraged that in other applications, that these upper decks looking down into other people's yards and things shouldn't become big party spaces, or I just would like to toss that out to the other commissioners to be consistent in what we've done in the past and not look like we're picking favors.
Okay, sounds
Let me
like
reframe it. I would strongly encourage the permit to the final drawings to remove those tubs from the drawings. If the applicant chooses to do it, that's different, but I don't think we want to promote that, to be consistent, as I said, with other applicants that we have turned down specifically on that issue.
okay, so Carrick, do you have anything that you want to address based on those comments?
I do not.
Okay, it sounds like we have 2 different motions, correct? One in support of the variances, and then one for the modifications to the facades. Is that right, staff?
That is correct.
Okay, so can I have a motion for support of the variances, please?
So moved.
I'm
And a
actually,
second.
I have a.
I'll second. It's Todd.
Commissioner.
Okay, I'll call. It looks like Brooke has arrived as well. So Brooke, can you state your name for the record as a commissioner?
Hang on one sec. Brooke Michael Smith.
Okay, great. Are you going to vote on this one or not?
No, I just got on. Sorry.
That's okay. So I'll take the roll. Shannon,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Yes.
and Jason. And sorry about that. And then Jason, yes. So the motion for variance recommendations carries. So can I have
Who had
another
the motion and who had the second for that one?
Okay. Thank
I had
you.
the second. Todd.
I thought it was Todd. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and then could I have another motion for the modifications to the architecture as proposed, or as we've modified in the discussion?
So moved.
Okay, and so if I'm understanding correctly, that is to have 3 windows on the upper left. The 3-window bank below. You're okay with that, Shannon, as part of your motion?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can I have a second?
What about the removal of the hot tub from the drawing?
Yeah, David is requesting that. So that's to you, Shannon, if you want to add that.
Sure. Let's add it.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Shannon,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
and Jason, yes. Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll see you here in a little bit for another one. Over to you, staff, for 805 Beacon Alley.
All right, this application is to place 2 9 by 18 stacked parking spaces to the north of the garage per the submitted drawings. Both parking spaces will be constructed out of which have also been supplied. Commissioners at the business meeting wanted to know if the parking had already been built, especially to the spaces the north of the property. There was concern over the amount of parking. All commissioners were in favor of the pavers as opposed to asphalt in those those spaces, though. Staff does recommend approval as submitted with any clarification.
Okay, sounds good. And who do we have? I saw Dean on there earlier.
Yep.
Hello, will you state your name for the record?
Yeah, Dean Burlon with Urban Order Architecture.
And will you raise your right hand and promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
I do.
Okay, great. So tell us what you know.
So this is, we actually, it's a garage conversion into a carriage house that the commission approved. And the parking, that's the stacked parking spaces, is actually part of the variance application that you guys approved back in 2015. So what happened was when we sent it through zoning, they just, for some strange reason, they said, oh, what's the material? And nothing was ever noted in the variance. And so we just said, oh, well, we'll use pavers, but they sent it back to the commission. So just for whatever, just for fun. So.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'll go through to see who has comments. Todd?
I don't have any comments. I'm in support, except for the site plan that we have still says 2 stacked spaces, asphalt parking pad. And I'm sure that's just, as long as we're clear that it's going to be the brick pavers, I have no issue.
Okay, great. Ben?
I support, provided the same clarification.
David?
Support with the clarification.
Brooke?
Support with the clarification.
Shannon?
Support with clarification.
Okay, same for me. So can I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. All in favor, David?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
And Jason, yes. Motion carries. All right, thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so moving on.
Chair.
Yeah.
I assume that clarification was that there would be pavers.
I assume that was the case. I believe, yes. Because
Let's
we should have
not
probably said
assume
that.
we'll
That
reach
should have been in the most probably,
Yes.
but
Yes.
let's make sure. I mean, if Dean is still there, that's
Yes, we'll make sure. Yes, yeah, that's a good point, Ben. So.
That is, in fact, the clarification of which.
All right.
Excellent. Okay. So moving on to number 754 North. Oh, that's moving staff approvals too.
Yes.
Okay, good. So moving on to 196 East 2nd.
Yes, so this application was the result of a code violation, and I'm going to remind you all that wonky picture at the beginning of this is my fault, so we can't go blame the applicant.
That's right, yes.
All right, this application was to erect a wood fence for a dumpster enclosure, as well as installing the gravel over the grass. The dumpster enclosure measures 6 feet high by 22 feet wide by 15 feet deep, only enclosed on 3 sides per the submitted documentation. The commissioners at the business meeting requested that the dumpster enclosure be screened and that the applicant have an idea of what it would look like for the hearing. Plants such as a hedgerow to soften the edge around the dumpsters were suggested, and it was noted that the courtyard is heavily utilized by the residents. It was asked why the dumpster and enclosure were on that side of the parking lot when Punta Alley was serviced at the north end of the parking lot. Commissioners also noted the parapet at 953 to 979 North 4th Street had been damaged, and it was inquired if HBO staff had received any applications or knew of what was happening with that building. And I will let you know that I believe a code order has been issued, but the applicant should also be addressing what their plans are for the repair and submitting an application for that portion separately, which I believe the repair and replacement should be a staff approval. So we'll see it another time, but through the staff approvals part. And staff does recommend that this application be approved with the condition that the landscaping around the fence is submitted, so I'll need a scaled and measured drawing, and that the applicant for the parapet repair at North 4th Street Townhomes is submitted within the next 60 days.
Okay, sounds good. And I will say, I went past there yesterday, and at least out on the street, I don't see the bricks, so I'm a little fearful that they no longer are existing, which would be more of a challenge to properly match the historic brick on the building. So we'll have to get into that with this. So who do I have here representing the applicant?
I'm here, Doug Decker with Community Housing Network.
Okay, Doug.
Hi, folks. And Chad Stonebrook, I'm the attorney representing Community Housing Network and Network Restorations One.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you both stated your name for the record. Will you raise your right hands and promise to tell you the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. So over to you.
Yeah, we attended the meeting a few weeks ago, and we did submit a written plan just to address the concerns. Obviously, in this case, with the fence that was built around the dumpsters, we're kind of playing catch up, and we do apologize for that because certainly they understand now that erecting the fence without first getting approval was not something that should have been done. They're addressing the code violation with the code officer and environmental court as well. However, we are here now, and we've submitted the sketch of what we have there. We noted, though, that the concerns of this commission last time seemed to be more aesthetic in nature, not necessarily critiquing the fence, but the fence look, maybe adding some shrubs. So we did submit a written plan for that as well. They want to basically put some decorative shrubs, 17 of which around the fence, just to kind of go around that L-shaped design. They put a weed barrier in as well, make sure that there was a contracted landscaping company to take care of it. And then from there, we'd leave it up to the commission as to what they wanted the actual fencing to look like. Certainly, we're happy to stain it, we're happy to paint it, we're happy to use whatever stain color or paint color the commission would like, but we definitely want it to fit in, we want it to look nice. We have a lot of investment in the community there, just like you folks do.
Okay, I'll have the applicant or the commissioners go through. Just before that, could you address the reason that you have decided on this location as opposed to something closer to where the garbage truck would be servicing off the alley?
Yeah, my understanding is there was a dumpster was in a separate location at another time, and there were a lot of basically localized complaints to other folks who lived in the area. The trash trucks were going through there damaging a privacy fence based on the old location. The refuse company indicated that it had a difficult time. It would have to turn at a certain angle to be able to see the dumpsters because they were there. There's a restaurant business owner that would complain about the trash falling out of the container and kind of blowing over to his property. And then additionally, there were some issues on bulk pickup in that location. So that's why those reasons, we did outline them all as well and submit them written, but there were a lot of different reasons that went into the location being moved, most of which were to basically try to address the concerns of the other residents in the area. If the commission wanted us to move them back, certainly we would talk about that and be open to that. However, it seems like the other members of the community would prefer it be in this location, but we'll leave that up to what you folks think as well.
Okay, I'll go through and get comments from everybody. Ben, you want to start?
I am very uncomfortable with the way this application is unfolding. This drawing sketches submitted to us today is just far less than we would like to see. It just seems a little uncommitted. So I would support the idea of continuing this to give the applicant more time to do an appropriate landscape plan. I feel that that the better location is toward the north. I guess I'm inclined to flesh that out, with regards to the community through the next hearing or through another phase of this. But I can hardly believe that that it wouldn't be an improvement to put the containers further north instead of all the way into the south. So I support continuation.
Okay, Todd?
I think I'd have to support what Ben was saying concerning just my own understanding of exactly where the landscaping is going, the fence, like materials and colors and all that kind of stuff, versus us kind of dictating that. So I'm in favor of continuance as well.
Brooke?
I'm in total agreement with Todd and Ben on this one. I think there's needs to be more information provided.
David?
Could I'm going to follow the continuation, and this is not an acceptable drawing and does not answer the question of how many plants, what plants, how the soil will be prepared. That's why I'd like you to go back to the picture that shows the two dumpsters. That one. Notice the sign to the right-hand side. Look on the outside. It appears that's all gravel that's outside the dumpster zone and doesn't enhance the property at all. So I want to make sure that the application shows that that gravel will be scraped away and that the proper soil for any planting, which should go along that side, or at least some pieces, is finished. And for that reason, I agree this application is not complete and not worthy of being approved. The applicant or the attorney did ask about painting the fence. I think stain would be appropriate, not paint. And yes, if it was done that way to enhance it, I would be in favor of staining, but not painting.
Okay. Shannon?
I agree with everyone's comments thus far. Little less concerned about location. I think like looking at the, I think I can see what they're talking about just in terms of turning radius for a large truck. It's easier to have these size of containers where they are than trying to kind of turn in punta. So I'm a little less concerned about the location, but definitely concerned about aesthetics and what little space is left for recreation, kind of turning that back into green space for the residents.
And did I miss anybody? I'm sorry if I did. I lost track in there. Okay, sounds like I didn't. Yeah, I have just another kind of quick comment in here. You know, I think one of the, if I'm understanding this correctly, there's still a proposal to have this be 3 sides open on the fronts. And
You mean 3 sides closed?
or 3 sides closed, but remaining open on the front side is my understanding. Is that correct from the applicant side?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, I think just one of the things to point out in the billion site reviews I've done in a zillion communities in way less walkable, way less urban neighborhoods than this, pretty much always make doors and 4 sides on enclosures. And this way less walkable, way less recreation focused spots than this. So I'm having a hard time understanding the argument that that folks that live here would have any benefit by having a constantly exposed dumpster hole next to their recreation area. So if you can convince me of why that it makes any sense whatsoever, I'd be happy to hear it.
I would ask
Given that we're headed to continuance anyway. Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to say, a lot of our properties, we have a really hard time with the receptacle trucks being able to open those gates. They won't refuse to do it. We've been told by the city that they won't do it. So that's why it's open, is because we typically have problems with the trash companies opening it for us to dump.
Well, I get I'm an expert in trash companies, but I am an expert in zoning codes and in site review and design in a lot of communities all throughout Central Ohio. I would guess I suggest you talk to, like, I don't know, anyone else down any street that has one of these that's enclosed, of which I could probably find you hundreds of examples, thousands probably. So I don't know why that is. I don't understand the specific issue. but certainly many businesses and residences throughout the Central Ohio region have four-sided enclosures, because that is in fact a pretty typical code requirement in a lot of communities throughout the region. So I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's because you have both of them in one giant enclosure instead of having two separate enclosures. I don't know. But I guess my charge to you is to find an answer that respects the fact that you have a lot of people that spend a considerable amount of time in that backyard. And I rarely walk past there where I don't see at least one or two families trying to enjoy the space back there. And I can't imagine that is additive to have exposed dumpsters sitting right outside. It's pretty gross. That's my charge. So I'm also in favor of finding a way to give you a little more time to understand this. I think the other thing that would be worth noting is in addition to just installing landscaping, whatever has sort of spilled out of this enclosure into the ground as far as the gravel, that should be removed and make this an actual edge to this enclosure. I mean, having a decent dumpster enclosure is pretty much one of the lowest common denominators of zoning in almost every community around Central Ohio. So I just don't think this is hard. It's a real easy thing to do. Just do it. Just do the right thing.
Would you suggest taking away the gravel out of where the dumpsters are? Are you suggesting that we put something down like concrete or something like that down there? Or
no,
what's the suggestion for that?
Make it. Yeah, I mean, I'll go through the whole thing. It doesn't, again, this is pretty, I think this is pretty basic 101 stuff. If you have an area outside of a dumpster enclosure that is not used as your parking area, then make it part of the greenscape, make it part of the yard. Return that to
I get the exterior. I get the exterior. I'm asking about the interior, the enclosure of the dumpsters. Are you asking us to do something with that gravel or just the exterior gravel that's outside the dumpster area?
Yeah, the exterior gravel. I don't care what's inside there, but what I do care is not being able to see it. I mean, I think that's part of the issue. If you had these as normal four-sided quality dumpster enclosures, then it wouldn't be.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Like go to
I'm just trying to get clarification.
Tim Hortons on Livingston Avenue. Like I'm not talking about not going to the Ritz-Carlton. Just go to like anything and look at what their dumpster enclosure that's four-sided looks like in the community, and think about doing that. Sometimes they even use brick. Who knows? I'm not saying you're going to do that, but it happens all the time. Kind of amazing. So yeah, I mean, not to be flip about it, but this is not a tough design circumstance to solve. And I think to respect the use of that backyard for the people that live there, let's fix it. It's real easy. So that's my take. Okay, any other comments?
I would just a minute while we have the two applicants here. We haven't touched at all on the destruction that has happened to the facade of a very contributing building on 4th Street. Let's hear from them just a minute as to, are you saving the bricks or can they be relocated wherever they've gone in order to preserve this? I'm asking you directly.
Yep. My understanding is they did some initial work to just make sure that things were safe. There were some falling bricks. Obviously, no one was happy about that. There were safety concerns. Scaffolding was put up. The last I heard, they had collected the bricks. They'd piled them. I'm hearing for the first time that they're not in those piles anymore. So I'm going to verify as quickly as I can to see whether we're storing those in some place or what happened to them. So I'm not sure exactly where the bricks are right now.
And may we encourage you to tell the client to bring forward a plan to reconstruct that facade as it was before 30 days ago.
Absolutely.
And Kimberly, does that have a time limit on it also? This isn't something to let drag on and on and on and on, because the thing is in disrepair now, which may even cause more stuff to fall. We need to get this corrected, but done in a preservation style mode direction.
So my recommendation had been 60 days, but once the code violation has been received by the applicant, which it should be the building owner, and I'm trying to think, I'm not totally clear with all of our code enforcement procedures, so I don't quite remember exactly it goes to, but it does go to at least the building owner, and they have 30 days from when they receive the code violation to get in contact with me. So I should hopefully hear something soon. I'm not sure when the code violation go out. I know our code officer was asking me about the parapet, so if you haven't received something, I'm sorry, you probably will be receiving a code violation for that soon. The code officer is pretty spotty on, not spotty, he's pretty prompt if there's any repairs that needs done, because they know the damage that can accumulate over time if things are left just to kind of weather. So if we want to beat the code violation, that would be appreciated, I know, by me, and I believe the commissioners would like to see this one back. Typically repairs are staff approvable, but noting the concern, I'm probably going to put it back in front of the commissioners just to make sure that everything is up to their standards as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just the last thing is, I think for a lot of us, it's really important. We've already lost a ton of opportunities to have a mixture of incomes in the neighborhood, and it's important that that maintains the circumstance. At the same time, I think both for the overall neighborhood and for those who live in any variety of properties throughout the community, everyone has the sort of the fundamental right to have it be well maintained and as pleasant of a place to live as it can be. So I think what we're asking is very reasonable and is pretty much the sort of lowest thing that we would ask any applicant. And we're just looking for this to be a more quality environment for everybody, both that lives there and is experiencing the neighborhood in any way. So with that, it sounds like we want to make a motion to table this or continue it rather. Does the applicant object to us moving to continue this?
No objection.
Okay, sounds good. Can I have that motion?
I would be glad to make it to continue
do I have
this
a second?
application.
I'm sorry, say that, David?
To continue the application for the dumpster project and then also encourage a timely response to the parapet on the south side of their property.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second,
And I will call the roll. David?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Brooke?
yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
And Jason's yes. So continued until next month. Thanks, and just work with staff and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, real quick, while the applicant is still on, the deadline is technically noted as tomorrow, but since you are at the hearing, you get another week. So I'm going to try to be as quick as I can with getting your letter back to you, but just note that you do have that week period to get any revised information back into me. We do hope we are going to see you next month.
And Kimberly, just because we're talking further about this, I just want to make sure it's clear that what we're looking for is a scale landscape plan that shows fencing, plantings, and any lighting and any adjustment to the dumpster locations.
Yes, so it'll be a little bit more professional than a sketch.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, are we ready to move to the conceptual review, or do you want to go back to the one we skipped earlier?
Why don't we do the conceptual review and then we'll come back to the one we skipped earlier. Carrick's already been waiting a while, so I don't want him to wait any longer.
Fair enough.
Yes,
So it's
yeah.
42 to 44 East Prescott.
Yes, so this is the conceptual review to combine parcels of 42 to 44 East Prescott and 45 to 57 East First. I would like to note that all buildings that are already existing are to remain on this. And then we are proposed to construct 6 townhouses on the single combined lot. Proposed townhouses would be split into 2 groups of 4 and 2, and the townhouses would be approximately 3 stories tall. The commissioners at the business meeting think the project is going in the right direction, but the townhouses were noted as being too tall. Commissioners suggested various solutions, such as eliminating the half-story or the garden level, and support for townhouses on the alley was expressed. Commissioners noted that there would be a lot of work to be done, including the height as well as the proportion of the proposed townhouses. They suggested that the building unit comes down for the height and that the townhouses have a little bit more variety. In terms of city code 3116.12, the standards for new construction, new structures should look new, reflecting contemporary designs while using contemporary design elements that relate to existing contributing properties surrounding the new structure. Building height, width, mass, and proportion affect the degree of compatibility between the old and the new. Height, as viewed from the street, shall be compatible with adjacent contributing property. Set off may be used at the upper levels. Physical size and scale should be compatible to existing contributing properties without overwhelming them. Scale, the size and mass of the structures in relation to open spaces, openings, and projections should be compatible with adjacent visually related structures and open spaces. And as normal to consider for the conceptual review, does the design fit in with the context, street alignment, height, scale, rhythm, openings, and materials? And then my recommendation is just to provide design feedback. And I do have one question for the commissioners. I received an email from Carrick regarding an additional document that he has. I didn't have time to add it into this just when I received it, so I'm going to leave it up to the commissioners. This would be like drawing submitted at the hearing if you actually want to view it or not. I believe, because I did look at it real quick before the meeting started, it's a oh, and I can't think of the word. Carrick, you're going to have to help me and explain what this is.
It's a massing exhibit that shows how our proposal relates to primarily the Prescott Place building, because I know in the streetscape elevation that I provided with the proposal, obviously the proposed new townhomes appear incredibly out of scale with the existing duplex on the same side of the street. However, it's there's no, I guess it's important to recognize also that there's a 4-story building and the building wall is less than 25 feet from the face of these townhomes. That's 4 stories tall. So if that educates any of the size and or massing of our proposal in the commissioner's eyes, it would be helpful to maybe look at that one exhibit.
Okay. Well, this is conceptual, so let's go through and get everyone's take. Todd, you want to start this one?
Sure. I know that in the last business meeting, that was my primary kind of comment, was just the scale. It is too tall for me. I do appreciate the reference to the Prescott building, and I understand that relationship. I think, though, at the same time, the height, I understand this probably almost, when you go all the way down the alley, this probably is about as long as a Prescott building. And I think that's what I'm uncomfortable with, is putting that massive of another building into this block, which is not that scale. So I think for me, it would have to come down a level, or there'd have to be a lot of articulation of windows, of a lot of stuff to bring down the visual scale. So the big windows in the very front, very commercial style windows that scale 2 stories, I think are just accentuate the verticality. And I think that's probably part of it. So if there's a lot of work to bring that down, I'm sure I could have a further discussion, but I think the first glance for me is just, it feels too big. It feels like it's just been stretched too tall. And then the rhythm is a little strange with the kind of the a kind of marching along, but then there's the two that are kind of combined on the alley elevation, which is a little strange. And I'll probably beat David to his comment, but he made a comment in the business meeting that on the other side of the drive aisle, it could be a different building. And I totally agree with that idea as well. I think that's an interesting chance to continue the variety in this block. So those are my comments.
Great. Brooke?
So I agree with the height issue, and I think it was very perceptive of Todd to catch the scale of the windows, because I've been looking at this and trying to figure out why it is too tall, but why it appears excessively too tall. And I think it is the scale of the windows on the front. And the next comment is going back to the business meeting. And I guess, as Todd pointed out, David's comment about adding variety. I couldn't remember who said that, but I think that is a really good idea to look into to help kind of break up this repetitive nature of these units. That's all.
Great. David?
Are these going to be rentals or condos?
They will, as far as I understand, be a for sale product.
Okay. I've been labeled with the idea of breaking up these facades so that it isn't basically 6 units that look exactly alike and are overwhelming. I think Kim brought up 2 points in our guidelines. It says this is not compatible. Any new construction should be compatible. It's too big. And then it talks about, does it overwhelm? And I think those 2 words, compatibility and overwhelming, are the 2 critical things that don't appear in the drawings right at the moment. I am going to advocate that the 2 unit at the far left have an entirely different style. It doesn't have to look like a project. The other thing about the scale of the windows that have been pointed out, if you look at what those windows would be looking at, if you sit there and look, it's at the back of side of a fire exit on another building that's overscaled, but was allowed in the guidelines to be that tall, given the original Short North guidelines that Jason and I both sat on that board or that panel serving, but it didn't go back into the residential block. Then, Kimberly, I've got another concern because the other element that's not in this rendering we're looking at is if we go to the opposite end, we have the low cottage, which is a pre-Civil War house. It isn't showing in any of those, but it's the other end. It's the First Avenue house. I remember that we granted these people special parking in the back for those units. Somehow, where are they going to park now? It looks like what we approved is been taken away, or they sold it off, or what happened to the parking for the first unit? You remember they were driving up in the lawn and they were parking cars for 1.5 years in the front yard.
Yeah.
We went through this whole thing, and now all of that parking for those is gone, which is
we're probably going to see a lot split coming down the line. I think we just have to look at this conceptually, and that you're right. There are 2 units that are going to be right on the top of that.
Which may happen or may not happen. And then if you would stay on the alley and jump across East First, there was a great picture. I think, Jason, you brought it up the other day in the business meeting that shows that infill that Borrowed did, that has 2 houses facing townhomes that are facing First that fit very nicely. And then as you go around the corner, there's an entirely different architectural statement in the new build there. But it fits like the scale of this street, of the Prescott Street. And it might be, I offer that as inspiration to say that all these buildings shouldn't look alike. We want them to look more like individual neighborhood houses. I don't know, Jason, if you can bring it up again on your Google Map or?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, in favor of continuation and not greater than 3-story.
Do you have anything else, David?
Nope.
Okay, I guess Ben, segue into you. You've already kind of gotten rolling.
Yeah, I think that scale is an issue, and I could probably live with the proposed gable facing Wall Street or Pearl Street Alley. What really destroys it is, and something I didn't even quite realize before, is the through gable that's even higher than that that goes north and south. So it will create a sort of another sense of mass going across all this, other massive frontage, if you will. And so I think, just again, more clearly, the gables and this sort of narrow marching rhythm, I think I can get behind. And I was also, we got some background noise. And I'm okay with the idea of a garden level and a raised porch because it's an alley. I'm neutral about the idea that each unit needs to be separate. But what I am a little more firm on is that there needs to be some sort of projection of the form that we're seeing on Pearl Alley through to the back of the building, which presently looks like any variety apartment complex in the suburbs. So there needs to be a sense of that these are homes, all as opposed to that they're just cobbled together facades, one for Pearl and one for the back of the lot. I fully appreciate what Carrick is trying to say about scale with respect to the Prescott building, and frankly, the building it's across the alley where the UDF is. Both of these buildings are very large, and I think that's just a little bit appropriate to allow that study next time around to be part of our decision making. But I also think that Carrick, that it's just a little bit bad luck that you're dealing with a very archetypical two-family home right on the corner that is always going to be compared to this. And so it also makes sense to me that that others are asking for this height to come down. I could compromise on the height, but in any case, that building is there and it's part of the context. Finished.
Okay. Shannon.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the architecture and then go to the site plan real quick. I think that the other thing that's a little, I actually disagree with Ben. I mean, typically I really like this walk-up porch situation, but I think that's also throwing off the dimensions, because if you look at the house to the east at their doors, how much lower that makes those front doors is probably also causing an interesting distortion that then the windows are, further distorting. So in my mind, there might be just a completely different architectural style you want to go with that fixes all those concerns at once. I don't think the story needs to come completely down, but I do think it needs to probably, I don't know, be at that between that 123 and 128 foot range to feel more comfortable. So one thing I'd like to see is a site plan that is more detailed with what's going on around it. Right now, we've just kind of like got a CAD cut out that's just showing 3 lots. So if we could expand upon that so we can see more of what's happening closer to high. And then I'm seeing this parking for 45, 47. I assume that's existing because it's not in color. This is on page 1. And obviously, we have these new 3 spaces behind 53 East First. Are these 3 spaces replacing those 2, or are cars parking in that? Is that going to be our final product that you guys are thinking of? That's how the cars are going to be placed on that?
That would be, yeah, I mean, that the 2 spaces, the 2 surface spaces that you see there would be the parking spaces for the East First Avenue duplex.
And then the 45, 47 would remain.
Yes.
So I think that needs thought out. I mean, I agree. I understand what Ben is saying, that we'll probably see a lot split and see something built on this, but that just looks, I mean, like that looks as if we're waiting for that lot split to come and not really caring if it does become a permanent situation. So I definitely don't support how those are working. Those are my comments.
Yeah, I think that's everybody except for me. I am in the same line as everybody else, particularly on the height. And I'm not typically the most concerned about height, but these really are feeling like a full 4 stories next to a very different character. So I think all the comments that have been made I'm right in line with, both from the site plan and from a architectural perspective. So with that, do you have other questions for us, Carrick, today that we can help you with? This is a conceptual.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions right now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add one other thing. Since I didn't focus much on the site, I just like the applicant to think more about that, since there's so much lot coverage, that some portion of this paving area is probably going to be permeable. I think that's probably a conceptual and budgetary concern to think about.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, anything else today on this one, staff?
No.
All right, sounds like we are ready perhaps to go back to pick up from before.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, so that was, shoot, what number was that?
That was number 2, 165 East First Avenue. It is up on the screen.
Yes, this one I have to abstain from, so I'll turn it over to you, all of you again.
Okay, so it does
David
not
has
look
to
like,
abstain as well.
yeah, so it does not look like we have the applicant on here. I don't know if we want to continue it or work out something that we can move it to staff approval and that I can work with them, because it looks like there's a couple items that are missing from the site plan. I'd prefer a more accurate site plan to stamp. So maybe something without the boulder. And I'm not too picky on what type of plantings are going around. I do want to make sure the ones by the HVAC unit are upright ones, as opposed to anything that's going to be droopy or ground covering, which I had asked the applicant for the photographs or some kind of documentation of what exactly these things were going to be. Again, I didn't have a lot of time. I was out all of last week, so I played a lot of catch up today because we also had yesterday off. But what are my remaining commissioners thinking? Can we move it to staff approval that I can work with them, or do we want to see them back here at the next month's hearing?
I would move this to staff approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
All the right things. So if you just get a scale plan that's properly notated, and I think you've said all the right things. So let's just put it in your hands.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to play Jason for a minute and ask if I can have a motion for that.
So moved.
On application, this is
175 East First.
Thank you, David.
20-09-009 175 East First Avenue to approve as staff has just outlined, with the addition of, we get a scaled drawing submitted as well.
Second.
Is that clear enough, Kim, or said that we're moving it?
That was clear enough
Okay.
because with anything that's moved to approval, but we need some tinkering, I work with the applicant so we can get everything finalized and they can get their certificate.
Work with the applicant. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And it might be a good idea in the future to bring the application forward before you do the project.
Yes.
Oh, one other thing, have they been cooperative on the other lighting pieces on this project? On the house?
I believe they've removed it.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. And real quick, so I have it for the minutes. Can I go through the roll so we have that count for the vote?
Yes.
So I'm going to start off with Ben.
Yes.
All right. Todd?
Yes.
All right. Shannon?
Yes.
Brooke? Brooke, you're muted.
Or she left.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brooke.
Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the plan that calls out the red dots as tree uplighting.
Yes.
Are there existing trees there now? Because they're
Yes.
shown if there are.
Yes, they're existing trees. They just don't have a great site plan for us at the moment. So I'll work with them to make sure we've got everything on here.
Okay, that's all. Yes, I agree.
All righty, then motion carries. Thank you all. I will turn it back over to Jason, as the only thing we have to do is adjourn.
Sounds good. Anybody else have anything else to bring up today before we have that motion?
I just want to sit in front of Kimberly and also the rest of the commissioner members for making sure there's a quorum next month. The day that you will be meeting, the 13th of October, I will be getting a new knee, so will not be in attendance. So given that Lauren doesn't seem to participate as regularly, I don't want you to be caught short, so that's why I'm saying it now, so everybody will hopefully be able to attend and you will have a quorum.
Well, she did email me shortly before this hearing to let me know she wouldn't be here, but she'd be at next month's hearing. So I might hold her to that.
Okay, well, good luck, David.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope things go well.
Yeah.
Only a
Just
new
make sure you
name.
put the right one on the right side.
Right side.
Okay, well, the left one on the left side then.
Are you trading a knee for a house or an addition?
Oh, it's a total restoration project. I'm restoring the house and restoring myself at the same time.
As well.
Yeah.
All right, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I'll call the roll. Ben?
Aye.
David?
Yes.
Aye.
Brooke?
Yes.
Yep. Shannon?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And Jason. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you all. Have
Bye-bye.
great nights and good months.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Christopher and Pat, for all of your help as well. We couldn't have done this without you.
Thanks, Kim.